Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and I'm here today to talk to you about Digimon Fusion, the series review. I did it. I finally did it. 10 years ago, I started watching this, and after 5 or maybe 6 or 7 episodes, I just gave up. And when I gave up, I mean I gave up. I gave up to the point where I didn't read to see what happened. I didn't care to look for no clips on YouTube. I don't even think I looked for their Digifusion videos on YouTube. I completely gave up. The only thing that I remember from 10 years ago was loving the theme song, which I still love today, and it is still a banger. But then I was watching this one YouTuber who normally talks about Digimon, and he talked about the crossover, the multiverse crossover that happened with Exo Wars and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, that's Digimon Fusion in America. I'm all like, crap, I gave it up at the wrong time. Not knowing much about this series and not knowing that the third season never got an English dub. So I'm desperately looking on the internet, doing some soul searching, couldn't really find it. Then I finally found it somewhere. But and so then at some point when what was it? Beat Break came out. I was waiting for it to come out on Hulu. Oh, excuse me, I'm tired. And so I was waiting for it to come out on Hulu. And then I found out that Fusion is on Hulu. And so then I'm all kind of like, you know what? I can't just give up like this. I am a Digimon fan. I started with the old one. I've watched the good, the bad, and I'm all like, you know what? I can't crap out. I was feeling good with all this Digimon stuff that's going around lately. You know, more people talking about it. Beat Break coming out and everything. I was buying some merch online. I'm all like, you know what? If I could sit through Digimon Try, if I could sit through Digimon 2020, I can finish that of Fusion. So about a month ago or so, I started and then I stopped again. But I was determined to finish it. I was just busy watching other stuff. So for these past 2 weeks, I've been binging nothing but Digimon Fusion. And I'm finally done. I am truly finally done. And I can honestly, God, say that this is one of the weaker Digimon shows I've ever seen. It's technically, I guess you could say, better than 2020. And when it comes to Try, that's a movie, so I don't count that. But yeah, it's better than 2020, I'll give you that. 2020 is garbage. Plain and simple as that. And here's the thing about this season, or this series, I should say. They took a lot of bold steps, a lot of hits, a lot of swing and misses and everything, you know? This was, like most Digimon seasons, different from that of the template of 01. I guess one could say that 03, or technically Tamers, was the first big departure from that of Digimon, but it still, for the most part, kept its format, you know what I'm saying? And so did every other Digimon season after that. For the most part, I guess one could say. I still haven't finished Data Squad, and I can't find it nowhere, so I can't watch it. I gave up after 5 episodes. And so, like, when it comes to O1, O2, Tamers, and New Frontier, they're all very similar to each other. They all like follow that pattern. A group of kids, Digivices, Digimon, except for New Frontier. For the most part, like, they're in the digital world at some point, navigating, trying to survive and everything. Of course, Tamers they didn't get to the digital world until much, much later. Speaking of the digital world, have you ever noticed that, like, they never call it the Digi world? It's always the digital world, but everything else is called Digi, like Digimon, which is technically digital monsters, or a Digivice, which is technically a digital vice, but yet for some bizarre reason they never called the digital world the Digi world for the most part. I think in '01 they used to a lot, but then after a while they just kind of stopped. But yeah, like I was saying before, it's always followed that same pattern. Group of kids, Digimon, Digivices, trying to survive, this and that. And like trying to stop evil from conquering, like, both worlds for the most part. Digivolutions, and, whatever. This series, also character development and stuff, like, and all this other good crap. Digimon Fusion, it does break from the norm, but also keeps to the same. It's a group of kids in the digital world, but when the show first starts, it's like 3 kids that we see go to the digital world, but there's 3 other ones that are already there. So already that is very much different because half the team is like, already there. The team that travels there, only one of them has a Digivice known as a fusion loader. And so when you watch like the intro and you watch like the first episode, and then you start going episode by episode, it's just kind of like, well, hold up now. You mean to tell me that we have to follow a show where there's really only one kid for the most part, initially, that only has a Digimon and a Digivice, and his 2 friends are just tagging along? And not only that, but this main protagonist is collecting Digimon. So he has multiple Digimon that just fuse together when you can just give them to like somebody else. I'm all like, are we really gonna follow a show like that? But then you see those 2 other ones in the digital world. And so it's like, okay, at some point, they're gonna like team up with him. But then you're still gonna have 2 people laddygagging around and just tagging along. I'm all like, I don't want to do that. So already that's unappealing to me, like. And then not only that, but his 2 friends who are tagging along are literally just kind of there. They're kind of useless for the most part. Yeah, they help out a little. Okay, but like for the most part they're useless and everything, and they're super annoying, especially Jeremy. But then you get to the second season and you're like, hold up now. So now Jeremy and Angie aren't even there, and now the other 2 has like joined him. Oh, and there's like a 3rd kid who's evil and everything. But it's kind of like, what was the point of introducing Jeremy and Angie? You ain't gonna use them now. And they only reappear at the very last couple of episodes. I'm all like, it feels like a waste of space and everything, Like it really, truly does. And then you find out, oh wait, the 3rd season, they finally get fusion loaders, but we don't get to see that? I just don't understand what the creators were going with when they created this season, other than letting it be a giant toy cell. See, the thing about Digimon Fusion is that when I was saying like it breaks from the norm and everything, the conventional like character development with the humans and their Digimon partners is solely lacking this season. Like, your main protagonist is basically a goody goody two shoes perfect person who has little to no character development. What he is in the beginning of the season is who he is at the end of the season. And when I say the end of the season, I'm not talking about season 3 because that's not part of Fusion. That's Exo Wars. That's how you say it. Exo Wars. And so I'm only talking about the first 2 seasons, the first 2 story arcs and everything. So he has no character development, no character growth, and he's a goody goody two shoes. His other characters in the show and like his 2 best friends, it's weird because they get like maybe 1 episode each that's a solo episode for them. But that's not much character development. And for the most part, they're still kind of the exact same person they was in the beginning that they are in the end for the most part. But then you get the other 3 mysterious characters. And for the most part, I will say that's where the character development and the growth and like the emotion and stuff comes from. It comes from them. Problem is, the 3rd child doesn't appear until like the very end of season 1. And then he appears in the beginning of season 2 only to disappear and re-show up for probably like the last 10 episodes or so. Then the other 2, it's frustrating because it's kind of like with Nene and Christopher. In season 1, they kind of just pop in and out the season because they're like these mysterious characters and everything. Then when they start to show up, they're even either very annoying or more mysterious, and we start to get the character growth and development. But it's not until season 2, like, both of them officially join the team. Now, Nene technically joins in season 1, but when she does join, we don't really know too much about her other than the fact that, she has a brother and he's never mentioned again until season 2. And we get some of her backstory in season 1, but very quick flashes of like Christopher's like flashback in season 1. But it's not until season freaking 2 and halfway into the beginning that we actually get Christopher's backstory. I'm all like, why the heck did it take so long to get to this dude's backstory? But then we get more of Nene's backstory in the form of Ewan, her brother, or is it Erwin? I think it's Erwin, or Ewan. Who cares? He gets on my nerves. And that's where we get more of his backstory. I'm all like, and I get why it took so long to get his, because he basically just showed up in season 2. But it shouldn't have taken that long for Christopher's backstory, because they was trying too hard to make him the angry, edgy person. And I'm all like, that is way, way, way too long to get somebody's backstory and character development. Not only that, but we get a very quick scene of Mikey, the protagonist, backstory in season 1, and then that's just it. Who he is in the beginning is who he is at the end. And as for Angie and Jeremy, no backstory. They're like hollow shells of characters. Now, what's interesting is that more of the character development and growth actually come from the Digimon, which is kind of interesting and different because of the simple fact in past seasons. See, whenever I review a Digimon series, if you ever notice something, I talk about the human characters a heck of a lot more than the Digimon. And that's because, for the most part, the Digimon are just kind of there to help out the humans and stuff. They have personality, yes, but they really don't have solo episodes that like focus on them or really hard like character development unless they're special. They will have to be maybe like the two main Digimon and the two like special ones, say like in '01, right? So you'll have Agumon, Gatomon, Patamon, and Gatomon. And so, like, those for the most part will have maybe a little bit of a solo episode, but it mostly pertains to that of their human partner for the most part. But so nothing really ever focuses on a solo with them. It's just you get their personalities and stuff, right? Here, all the for the most part, all the main Digimon they get their own solo episodes, and it's nice. I do like that change up and everything, and they have some pretty emotional story arcs, especially Biazomon. I'm like, whoa, like I was not expecting that, and I think that lasted for like 3 episodes and stuff. Speaking of which, episodes tend to be like two-parters and stuff, especially when you get into season 2 with the Dark Generals. The Dark Generals mostly appear in 2 episodes, to establish them, then get defeated in the second episode. Then they show all up for this one main third episode where they just go away again. And that's kind of interesting. I do like that formula of it being like a cliffhanger in a 2-parter episode. And what's interesting is that when you do see season 1, I really dislike. There's way too much humor in season 1. It tries too hard to be mysterious to where the story is very linear. And not only that, but like it really lacks character development. But then you get to season 2, and while not great, it's a much improvement from season 1. The battles and the action is better. You get more character development. You get better villains and everything. That's the problem with this show. The villains are very. It's one of the weak parts of this show. See, back in the day, you would get your villains, and even though your villains wouldn't really fight the main characters until the final battle, you will at least see them pop in and out of the series constantly, talking, doing stuff, being scary, this kind of thing, making them a threat. You know what I'm saying? And maybe they might fight like our heroes midway through, and then of course that final battle. Here in season 1 of Arc 1 and everything, our main bad guy, Lord Braga and everything. First of all, the dude doesn't even seem scary. Second of all, he barely appears in season 1 and he barely appears in season 2. If anything, his generals and his lieutenants show up a heck of a lot more, and especially his brother. But his brother should have been the main antagonist, or at least Tacticamon. That dude seemed more like a main villain than Lord Braga and everything. And to me, Braga is just a weak, generic villain. Not weak as in his power set, but just weak overall in terms of making him interesting. Then when he finally shows up, oh, look at him. He's super powerful and everything. And it's hard to take him down and all this crap. And it's just like he's not really built up, because this whole thing is that he basically is taking over the digital world. He has a massive army, And he left all the smaller, weaker Digimon, to just roam around and feed off like their fear and everything. While pretty much every other Digimon works for him and stuff. And it's just kind of like, really, you can't take on these weak little Digimon and everything? It's taking you this long to like take over the like digital world and everything? But hey, whatever. But yeah, the whole Dark General arc was pretty good and everything, in my opinion. But it's like as soon as they came, they left. Like they're gone after their second appearance until they show back up for that third final appearance and stuff. Then other villains from season one, arc one, who are still alive, they don't show up in season two until like 2 episodes, and that's it. And it's just kind of like, why are y'all even introducing these villains? They're not even gonna be the main villains. At least destroy them in season one, and give us the new villains in season two or something. Like, have some actual structure. And not only that, but it's kind of like, in terms of like structure, there's so many inconsistencies in this like series that is just mind-boggling and everything. And it's so confusing when you get to the final episodes of season two, because they just start throwing out stuff all like, okay, look, we didn't explain nothing, but let's finally explain some exposition right here, right now. And it's just kind of like, oh, this is why I'm doing this, and this is why I brought you to the digital world, and hey, this device right here, this device does this, and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just kind of like, they're just dumping so much information at the last couple of minutes and everything. And this is something that should have been like built up throughout the season. But there's a reason for that. The reason why this lacks character development, the reason why it lacks that of structure, and the reason why there's so many cool battles is that this was basically just supposed to be a giant like toy sale and everything. See, one thing I've noticed about this season that's very frustrating and annoying is that every time a character appears on screen, their name appears at the bottom with the whole Digi Analyzer type thing. Okay, that's standard right there. That's standard Digimon. Problem is, in the past, their name shows up once and that is it. Here, it constantly shows up. So say it's on Mikey, right? It'll show his name. Then it'll cut to somebody else and it'll show their name. Then it cuts back to Mikey. And oh, look, they show his name again and again and again and again. It's every time they appear on screen. Then every time they give like their attack name appears on screen as well. This was to sell toy merch and cards and everything, so you would be more familiar with them. Not only that, but the whole Digivolution structure of the fusion thing is for them to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and add on, kind of like a giant Megazord or like a Gundam type thing. And this, of course, was to be more flashy and everything and show how powerful they are by showing how huge they are. So you will buy the merch and everything. And because of that, it really took away from the essence of what Digimon is and the core, strong, deep, emotional storytelling that Digimon is known for. And that pisses me off. Because, it was marketed to kids, especially with the goofy nature of it all and everything. And it was just for people to buy toys and the cards and the DVDs and everything. Which, by the way, yes, both seasons are English dub on the DVD. But there's a problem. Season 1 you can find on Amazon for like $20. Season 2, that's gonna be a hard find right there, because I couldn't find it on Amazon. And then they break it up into volume. Season 1, with episodes say like 18 to 30, which is also $18 for some bizarre reason. But maybe you'll have better look if you go to eBay or something like that. Now, a lot of fans have said that this show was the one that almost killed Digimon. They say that with every Digimon show that's not that great, or they don't like for the most part. They said it with New Frontier, they say it with Data Squad, and now they're saying it here. Now, here's the thing. This show came out in 2012 in Japan, but 2013 in America. And so it came out on Netflix in 2014 or 15. And in the second season, 2016. Now, the first two seasons have a total of 54 episodes. But I think the entirety of the series has about 80 something or something like that. And this is this is funny because this is the first and last Digimon season to do a lot of stuff. First things first, Saban got the rights back to Digimon. Now, I have a love-hate relationship when it comes to Saban. So, Han Saban, we all know him as the granddaddy of like Power Rangers and stuff. He brought Power Rangers to America, Super Sentai. He also brought over Metal Hero with that of VR Troopers and Big Bad Beetleborgs and stuff. And he also brought over Digimon. And I appreciate that man for that. You know what I'm saying? Because without that, I wouldn't have had some like really good memories as like a kid and teenager and stuff, watching television and stuff. And he used to own Fox Kids, but then when he sold Fox Kids, his shows and stuff, he gave them to Disney. Now, the thing about him is everybody knows he's cheap and he didn't want to pay like the Power Ranger stars what they're worth. Anyway. When he dubs Digimon, he makes it super, super, super goofy for little kids. As much as I love 01, the American English dub is just sometimes dreadful and everything. There's way too much cringy humor in that. Same thing with 02. And a little bit of season 3 Tamers. But then when he sold it, he gave the fourth season to Disney, New Frontier. That's the only Disney season. And for the most part, they kept it not as goofy silly. I mean, a little silly because it's for kids, but not that much. You know what I'm saying? But being Disney, just like with Power Rangers, they didn't want that. So he took the rights back to both. And when he took the rights back to both, the man literally lost his mind. He made Power Rangers too silly, goofy, and he went back to making Digimon too silly and goofy and everything. There's so much cringe humor that when I watched this, I'm like, oh, that's that 01, 02 humor and everything. I did not want to go back to that. But the Japanese dub is silly as well with Jeremy and everything. But like, yeah, he went back to cringy, like silly humor and everything. But when Digimon Fusion was not well received by an American audience and everything, because the kids by now were older and adults in their like 30s and stuff, he does what he does best. He got rid of it. Same with Power Rangers. He just like sold them to somebody else. He sold Power Rangers to Hasbro, but I don't know what the heck he did with Digimon. He just up and just got rid of it and stuff because Hasbro didn't take Digimon and stuff. And so, because of that, the third season was never dubbed in like English and stuff. Which a lot of people who are like Westerners and have seen the Japanese dub of season 3, a lot of them hate it and everything. Because our main protagonist, Mikey, is now no longer the main protagonist. He's like a mentor with a bunch of new kids and everything. And the old protagonist that were his friends, they're kind of still doing their own thing, but in separate and everything. And it's more episodic instead of like a story arc. And the whole war angle, I believe, is like over and stuff. Why they went to this big of a shift, the heck of I know. But like I said before, this season is the first and last to do a lot of things. First of all, it was the first to never finish their English dub. It is the last Digimon season that has what's known as an American English dub. What does that mean? Basically, things are changed around to meet that of an American audience and that of censorship. This is the last time you'll hear Japanese characters have American names and stuff. This is also the last time you will get that Saban cringy humor. This is the last time that you'll get an American theme music intro, which oh my god, I miss so much. And now with every Digimon series after that, even if they get an English dub or not, now you get the Japanese intro songs, you get the Japanese music, you get the Japanese names and everything. Also, this was the last like Digimon season to be English dubbed until 3 years later with Digimon Try, but that's the movies. It wouldn't take until 6 years later for a new Digimon television series to get that of an English dub. And that was the 2020 series. So because of that, us Americans and other people in the West, we missed out on the next series, Digimon Monster Universe, Applemon and everything. And of course, Ghost Games never got the English dub. And that pisses me off as well. Because I really want to see what those are about. Now, I will also say, this is one thing about this show I like. Boy, I love the fashion. They got some nice clothes in this series and stuff. And I like how this is the second Digimon series to change up the protagonist's clothes. However, I don't understand. I've said this before. I don't understand what's up in Japanese culture with making the girls look so slutty and everything. Like Nene, her skirts are short. And not only that, but like a lot of the English dub, like females that are like, digital monsters, sounding all sexy and sultry and everything. Not to mention Nene, like she's a freaking teenager, man. She shouldn't be so seductive looking by the way she poses with like her Digivice and all this other stuff. And I don't get it in Japanese culture. They've done this with other Digimon series, the females and other anime type stuff. Not to mention, they had to do a lot of censorship when it came to this season. And I mean a freaking lot. From the Troopmon, the way they were marching, I'm gonna assume they marched the way Germany did in World War II, if you know what I'm talking about. So, and then of course the females, they had to cover up Angie's like bikini scene. The two of the guys were completely butt naked and held like Digimon, covering up their privates. Let's see what else. Lilymon, apparently her clothes got redesigned from '01 and they showed her midriff and they couldn't show that. Then there is, I think, Marvymon or something. Whatever her name is. No, wait. It's not Mermaid. It's not Minerva. Marvymon or something like that. Nene's female like partner. Boy, they really had to cover her up. I remember when I saw her, I'm just like, man, she has a huge chest. How did they get past the censors with that? They didn't. Because all of her cleavage is showing. She's basically wearing a top that's like a two-piece like bikini looking thing. And so they had to literally draw in like, a tank top on her to give her a giant like uniboob and everything. Then Lilymon blew a kiss to the boys and they couldn't show that. So yeah, they had to do a lot of censorship with this. Now, there are three MacGuffins in this series. There are Digivices that are known as fusion loaders. They're like these remote control handheld devices that you can store your Digimon in, and you can store any Digimon in. It doesn't matter because no Digimon is tied to that of the human. Even the bad guys can take your Digimon and put them in their fusion loader. And with this, you can cause them to like fuse together. And it also has like a map inside it. Now, there are three primary colors: red, lavender, and blue. However, the lavender Digivice used to be black, and the blue one used to be white. Then there are Digicards, which I hate that name because that comes from Tamers. But they're not even really cards, really. Like a card that you trade with. It's an SD card. And it has the spirits of the fallen, like, warriors in it. So, but here's the craziest thing. It's like when he finds one, he'll load it in, like, his loader. And then the spirit of that Digimon will come out and they'll do like their final attack. And that's basically it. However, there are three that can actually talk to him. One that's trapped in the human world, and two that's trapped between worlds and kind of like the vortex and stuff. And one of them gave him his loader. And once he uses it, it turns black, but then it won't reload until he goes into the next zone. It's kind of like rush logic and everything. Then there is the Cold Crown, which is a giant crystal that's golden, but it was shattered many thousands of years ago. And now there are 108, and they make up, like, I think, like the 108 zones in the digital world. Once you combine it and everything, it turns back into a golden crystal, and you can basically do any godlike thing you want to. You can reshape the digital world in your image and bring Digimon back from the dead, but it can be corrupted and turn purplish black. Now, this season reminds me so much of Power Rangers Megaforce. In Megaforce, a lot of stuff happens, and you don't particularly know why. A lot of power-ups, and you don't particularly know why. And that's how this season is. And not only that, but past, like, characters and stuff, just like with Megaforce. So in this season, I've noticed something. Now, I've said before, every new Digimon show will always pick something from the previous show and incorporate it in their new show. So, like, because they had like DNA digivolving in '02 for their ultimates and everything, where they merged together. In season 3, which is Tamers, they do bio merge and everything, where the humans merge with that of the Digimon. And then in New Frontier season 4, because humans merge with their Digimon, they're like, okay, fine, let's just have the humans turn into Digimon and everything. So that's like a pattern that they do, right? They take something that was popular in the past season and plug it in their new show. This show, however, is really trying to be '01 all over again, but completely different. And then when you get to season 3, it's trying to be '02 and everything. Because you have a new team of like human protectors, and the older team is more like mentors and everything, similar to that of '02. Not only that, but they're taking bits and pieces, cherry picking from every past Digimon series and plugging it into this show. There are so many similarities to past Digimon shows that it is insane. And it becomes too clustered and everything. A group of kids brought to the digital world by that of Digimon, well, that's New Frontier for you. The whole like Digifusion, that's anything from DNA digivolving from '02 to that of bioemerging from like Tamers and everything. Like evil kids with Digimon and like a dark digivice and everything that's already in the digital world. Well, that's anything from like '02 or like New Frontier. A legendary battle that happened thousands of hundreds of years ago, and those Digimon fell, and their spirits are used by like the new like humans and stuff. Well, that's New Frontier for you and stuff. Let's see. Being able to load like parts of the digital world or like its essence into like your digivice. Well, that once again, that's New Frontier. Let's see. They had the whole fractal code and everything. Being able to load your Digimon into your Digivice and travel with them. Well, that's like Data Squad for you. What is it? Like having like starting off with like 3 humans being Digidestined type people, and then adding more later on. Well, that's Tamers for you. Living and surviving in the digital world. That's anything from '01 to like '03 Tamers, '04 like New Frontier. And so, it just picks and cherry picks in, from past seasons, and they just, dump them all into, this show. And it's to the point where the show almost doesn't have its own identity, but it does in the form of these kids being generals and collecting Digimon to fight, in a war. But, that's really the only true identity the show has other than Digifusion. Oh, another thing. Introducing a new form of Digivolving only to ditch it in the second arc for regular Digivolution, only to, occasionally go back to the original one. Well, that's '02 for you and stuff. But the difference here is Fusion is the main form of Digivolution. But in Arc 2, they do regular Digivolution, but that gets sidestepped to go back to Fusion. Honestly, I don't know why they added Digivolution in this season. It was really unnecessary. They should have just stuck with Fusion. But like, there are other things that feel unnecessary, like the whole data cards that like store the spirits of the legendary Digimon that was in the past battle. That feels unnecessary. Not to mention when the show started and they started using and started calling these Digimon legendary Digimon. First of all, how does Mikey even know they're legendary? And two, they're just past Digimon that we've seen in other series before that we love and everything. That used to be the main Digimon. So it's not really legendary. Like, it's just, it's legendary to us, but why was it legendary to them? But then they finally explain that they're past warriors and everything. And they just speed on through that. When they do explain things, it just happens so quickly with such like an information dump, you know? And not only do they take from other seasons, even the character designs are very similar to like past seasons. Mikey looks just like Ty, but his hair is spiked in a different way. Nene looks like Mimi, and what's his name? Urine, Urine, I think that's his name. Is it Urban? I think it's Urban or it's Ewan or something like that. Ewan, that's it. Ewan. I said urine. He kind of looks like TK a little bit. And what's his face? Jeremy kind of looks like Davis. And Angie kind of looks like Sora, which is funny because they got the same voice actress. But it's crazy. And Christopher looks like, Matt. But I did appreciate hearing some of those familiar voices, you know what I'm saying? Like the dude who played Jeremy was like Vmon and Ken. Angie voiced by the actress who played Sora. Christopher, the dude who voiced Henry, and Nene, Rika and everything. Which, by the way, like I said, the inconsistencies in this show, her voice is inconsistent. Her voice is toned completely different in season 1, but when you get to season 2, it's almost like she just said, screw it, I'm tired of talking in that voice, and just started talking in her regular voice that sounds more like Rika and everything, which really threw me off. I appreciate her season 1 voice because it was different and unique, and it fit that character. But not only that, but Nene's personality completely changes from season 1 to season 2. In season 1, she's more mysterious and everything. You don't know if she's good or bad, but then you find out she's working with the bad guys, but then later turns good. But she's more quiet and observant and everything. By season 2, they just made her the girl. And that's the phrase I use when it comes to female characters in Digimon, because this is something that's been bugging the crap out of me when it comes to female characters, is how they are portrayed. But she's portrayed to be more lively, more like personality, a little comedic, doing disguises and everything. And I'm just like, who is this girl? This is not Nene from season 1. But like I said before, what bugs me is that in season 2, they made her the girl. And by that, I mean Digimon needs to treat their female characters a heck of a lot better. Nene doesn't really digifuse her Digimon all that much like the guys. Not only that, but none of her Digimon can digivolve and everything. In season 2, the guys, whenever they take over a land, their flag is shown above in the sky, and it replaces the bad guys' flag, right? But the guys is like merged together, and Nene's is nowhere to be found. Then Originally, only Christopher and Mikey could only digifuse their Digimon together, but later on, to do the great fusion thing, Nene is able to fuse hers with them. But she is not able to fuse hers along with the other guys. Her Digimon are rarely shown in the show, but in season 2, she gets a brand new Digimon. That's her primary like fighter and everything. But it took to season 2. In season 1, she had one, but she mostly just rides that because it can like fly and everything. Also, the whole story arc with her brother, he's more interested in Mikey than he is his own sister. Like, we find out when it comes to her story arc that, her brother is lost in the digital world. But then after that, the rest of season 1, there's no mention of him whatsoever. Then you get to season 2, and every time she's in his presence, she kind of just stands there and just looks as Mikey's dealing with him and everything. And rarely talks to him and rarely tries to get her on their side. And it's weird because normally the brother-sister dynamic or like the sibling dynamic is really strong in Digimon. Here is one of the weakest things because he's more interested in Mikey and stuff. And I just don't know. She doesn't really even take leadership role at all like the guys do. Every human who has a Digimon is like they can like strategize and everything, right? She's the only one who can't. Same thing with Angie. Even Jeremy can come up with a plan of attack, kinda, but Angie is not. And they don't do that with the girls. And I know it's a different culture over there, but still, like they deserve their respect. If Sailor Moon can be one of the most amazing female-led animes of all time that was created by a woman, then I know these other Digimon. I know these Digimon series can do the same. There are other animes that are female-led and they're able to take control, but I just don't know what it is about Digimon. They cater to boys way too much. And I want to see the females have that same drive as the males. Now, the only time I've ever really seen that truly is in season 3, Tamers and everything with Rika. And the one in New Frontier was pretty cool, but once again, she was the girl. And then Sora was pretty cool, but for the most part, they made her the girl afterwards. And Mimi was always just the girl, you know what I'm saying? Same thing with Kari. This happens a lot with female characters. Like in Beat Break, the new girl, I keep telling you, they barely focus on her and stuff. And it would be nice to see a true second in command female or like a leader, you know what I'm saying? Which they never done in a television series. But the girl is also relegated to being that of the love interest. Not only that, but they had Angie do a bake-off in her solo episode. They can't be that behind in times when it comes to females being powerful, you know? Now, one of the things that's been bugging me about any Digimon series since '01 is that when you see these kids trapped in the digital world, you never truly see how they survive, really. Like, where do they sleep? What do they truly eat? You know, and that's something that was so special about '01 is that it felt real. You had kids talking about they're hungry, they had to fish for food. Sometimes they couldn't find food, they couldn't find places to sleep, they had to sleep outside. They complained about not being able to sleep in their bed. Like, you miss that And all of these newer series, and especially this one, it's just like everything comes to them in this series. Like, you never really see them sleep nowhere until one time somebody invited them to sleep at their place. And then when it comes to food, you never really truly see them eat food except for these Digibites, which is just like these snacks that are inside, like little chips that are inside like a container and everything. And it's kind of like, well, do they always have these? Where do they find them at? But you never truly see that. And it's kind of one of those things, like when I say when Mikey's perfect, it's like every time something bad happens to him, it gets resolved within seconds because he just finds a solution to get on out of it. And it's kind of the same way here when you don't see them struggle to, like, survive. But another inconsistent thing comes when it comes to the fusion loader, the digifusion and stuff like that, and who can control them. In the second season, towards the end of the battle and everything, or in the middle, to trick the villain, they swap Digimon and everything and control them. And this took everybody by surprise. Like, oh my God, I couldn't believe you did that, blah, blah. But we saw that in season one. Mikey literally takes control of Nene's Digimon on several occasions and fuse her with his Digimon and stuff. Therefore, because Digimon are not tied to their partners like in other seasons and stuff. So you can literally take whatever Digimon you want and literally fuse them with anybody you want because they're not tied to you and stuff. And so I don't understand how they forgot that in season two. They can also load other Digimon in their fusion loaders, which it's always you would hear them say, oh, I didn't know I could do that, or maybe I can, or blah, blah. It's like, no, we've seen you do that before, and there's no attachment. Not only that, but I don't like the idea of collecting all these Digimon, but then never doing nothing with them. See, every time they go somewhere and they rescue a place, they collect Digimon, or Mikey collects them, I should say. He has so many Digimon in his fusion loader, but he primarily only really uses 4. But he has dozens in there, and we rarely get to see them. Then all of a sudden, the writers will remember them, be like, oh yeah, let's bring them out and randomly have them do something. And it's kind of like they're living creatures of data. Like they're just in his Digivice, just like there, not doing nothing. And because of that, there's no character development with them. There's no personalities with them. It feels weird, like caging animals or something like that, and only bringing them out when you need them to fight. Not only that, but like it's the same thing with Nene and Christopher. Like Nene, I remember in the intro, I'm always seeing her holding a little Digimon in her hand. I'm mistaken that for Monitor Mon. But no, it's a completely different Digimon who does absolutely nothing and disappears for the entirety of the series until the very end. And like, same thing with Christopher. In season 2, I didn't even know he had like, 2 other Digimon because he only uses 3. And then everybody used all their Digimon for the final battle, which I knew they were going to do that. I knew they was going to do that. But similar to '01, the digital world moves at like a different pace than that of the real world. The real world moves slower and the digital world moves faster. And so because of that, in season 2, 2 of the humans that stay there, their hair grow longer. But one thing's never explained. Where did Nene and Christopher get their clothes in season 2? They never went back to the human world. See, the other 3 kids were able to change their clothes, But like they didn't. And how much time exactly passed between season one and season two? Because with their hair growing longer, it makes it seem like they've been there for weeks or months between season one and two, while Mikey's only been home for like a day. Because I know a whole year passes between season two and three. But where in the world did they get those clothes from? Because they're very stylized and everything. And I never understood like why they dress the way they do until you kind of find out at least Christopher's backstory and why he dresses in like a blazer in season one. But then when it comes to Nene, why does she dress the way she does? It's never explained until you get to season three and you find out she's an idol and everything. Oh, also similar to season one, like, the leader has like, the goggles, spiky hair, and he plays sports. But I still could not believe they completely changed it up for season three and brought in some new characters and had the original just basically be mentors and stuff. Because I remember when I saw the intro for season three, I'm like, why is Mikey to the side? And who the heck are all these other kids and everything? That's such an O2 thing to do. And it frustrates me because I hated that in O2. And I hate it here and everything. But another thing that doesn't make sense about this show is the fusion loaders and why they was created. Like Axe Nightmon's the one who created the dark fusion loader, the black one. And then here's the thing with the black one. The black one and the lavender one are technically the same ones. It was originally black, and he had Ewan like say his last name, and for whatever reason that was supposed to load in the fusion loader. But why he had to say his last name is technically isn't his because he gave it to Nene and everything. But why exactly did he give it to Nene? Why didn't he just give it to the brother and have him do stuff since he tricked them in a way? That don't make no sense. And that's never really truly explained. But then when she turned to the good side, her fusion loader went from black to purple, lavender. And Mikey's all like, wait a minute, that was your brother's fusion loader originally, blah, blah. But then why is it tied to her and everything and she's able to use it? Because you're only allowed to use, like, your own fusion loader. Then why did Axe Nightmon create other fusion loaders and stuff? That never made no sense. Not only that, but he created dark fusion loaders for like the bad guys to use. But he said he based that off of Ewan's original black fusion loader. But I don't understand. Like he should be able to make the dark ones on his own without basing it on the black fusion loader. Then Christopher's fusion loader was originally white, given to him by the main bad guy, and then it turned blue. But when Ewan actually got his own fusion loader from those past spirits and everything, he has a yellow one. But why doesn't he have Nene, since technically that was originally his? And when exactly did he take possession of Mikey's Digimon in the last episode of season two when he reloaded them out his fusion loader? They never went inside of his. I feel like there's a scene that showed that, but then they cut it for whatever reason. And that frustrates me too. Another thing that's inconsistent is like when Digimon appear in the human world, they're really tiny and they're like invisible or they're fading away. But then when Shoutmon was able to get some more energy, he was able to turn invisible along with Tatsukumon. But then, like every other Digimon that goes there, you can see them fully and everything. And but why aren't they tiny and why aren't they fading out like Shoutmon did originally? I don't get that. And I do like the fact that adults cannot see Digimon. Supposedly they're not supposed to. But then when they start seeing like the crown crystal and everything and other stuff sparkling in the air, they see that and think it's aliens and stuff. And then they were able to see Tatakamon at one point, but wait, they weren't supposed to. It's inconsistent in the dub. Another thing that's very confusing are like the Digimon names when they fusion Digivolve and everything. Like, take Shoutmon, the main Digimon of the series. Whenever he Digifuse and everything, it's always time however many Digimon he fuses with. So, say, like, it'll be like times 2 or times 3 or times 4, right? Because there are 4 Digimon that are combined together. However, when he will combine with like a 5th, then all of a sudden it'll be like 4B or 4K or 4X. And it's like, why? Why aren't they called like times 5? And his name will literally still be Shoutmon times whatever number he times it with, And so sometimes Mikey would just call him times 4 or times 3 sometimes. But when other Digimon digifuse with other Digimon, like they take on completely new names. They'll still keep their name but add a new one to the front. So instead of Greymon, it will probably be Metal Greymon or Great Greymon or like Greymon Whisper or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand why they have a traditional name, but he has a times and then that have a number. Like I don't get that. And it's never explained why that is. Also, once again, I don't understand the whole digivolving, because once they digivolve, then as they're in their digivolve state, they digifuse. What was the point in doing that? Now, you do see past Digimon from past series here. Like, there are dozens of them. I'm kind of tired of that. Because, I would prefer them to have their own new Digimon, like, created for the show, which they do. There are some that are new for, like, the show. I feel like it takes away from the specialness of, like, past Digimon that everybody knows and love when you see them, like, with a new coloration, a slightly different name, and a different voice and everything. But they do have, like I said before, newer Digimon for like this series, which are really cool. Now, when it comes to that of like say the episodes, the problem with this series is that because everything's supposed to be get to the next battle and the next like mode and everything, it becomes wash, rinse, and repeat over and over and over again, and they do not differ from that. In season 1, it's all about traveling to like a new zone, rescuing like the Digimon that are in peril, defeating the bad Digimon, and getting like a Digicard and like a crown code or whatever it's called. Then, of course, in the last episode, big battle, and then season 2 is completely different. Now it's like, travel to a new land and defeating like the Dark General over and over and over and over again, and it never deviates from that. And it becomes repetitive and it becomes very boring. And I started playing on my tablet Then in season one, I kid you not, I fell asleep a lot towards the end of an episode and I had to rewind and everything like that. Because it was always the same thing over and over and over again. And by season two, I was just bored. Alright, so I'm finna get into character. Okay, before I get into character bios and everything, this show actually originated on Nickelodeon, which is interesting because some of the major kid networks have aired Digimon. Fox Kids originally, then syndication for Disney, but also Disney XD with Frontier, and then Nickelodeon for the first like batch of episodes for Fusion. But then they went to the CW Vortex Kids programming. And CW is technically the WB. And remember, there used to be a kids WB. So that's kind of neat that the major like networks for kids all got Digimon at one point. Okay, so character bios and everything. Okay, so Mikey Kudo. So he is our main protagonist of the first two seasons. And he possesses that of the red fusion loader that is given to him by Omnimon. Basically, when he was in the human world, he's a basketball player. He's really good at what's that thing called? Kendo and everything. And so he heard, like, I think Shoutmon or something like that. And when he found him, he was given the red fusion loader. Now, Omnimon gave it to him when his, I think it's a digicard, like, got stuck in the human world. And so basically, the thing about Mikey is like the dude is legit perfect, right? And I mean perfect. Like he has no flaws, which makes him a very uninteresting like protagonist and everything, and just character all around. He always wants to help people, and the reason for that is like when he was a little kid, he walked past another little kid and the little kid was crying. He didn't think nothing of it. Then he saw like the ambulance and everything and ran back, and that kid was gone, taken away in the ambulance. Not sure what happened to that kid, but something was really, really wrong with him. So because of that, he has decided no matter what, he's always gonna help people. And that's literally what he freaking does. When he's in the digital world, anytime anybody needs any kind of help, he jumps and leaps in without thinking. And it's kind of frustrating because he always says the same thing. No matter what, he'll never turn his back on nobody. He will always help them. And stuff like that. And he just never thinks before he leaps. And that's a very noble thing, wanting to help people out. But he wants to help every single person. And not only that, but the moment he helps them, he automatically be like, okay, we're friends now. And it's like, that's not how it works. You know what I'm saying? And so he loads Digimon in his fusion loader and stuff like that. But he's so understanding and compassionate that like even if a person is horrible to him, he will still want to help them and still want to be their friend and always feel like he can turn them around. He always has an inspirational speech, and he always can figure things out within seconds, no matter how hard it is. And being in a completely different world, he always figures things out. He's just too freaking perfect. And on top of that, he's like a master strategist and everything, and is able to lead like armies of Digimon to like always defeat like the bad guys and stuff. He literally has no freaking flaws whatsoever. And it's just mind boggling and everything. Now, one interesting thing about him is when he comes up with an idea, he'll like flick his goggles and stuff. And his goggles are green. And it's funny because Shoutmon has like headphones that are green. Now, he has like grayish eyes, which is interesting because most people who have a fusion loader, the color resembles that of their eyes. A few of them do. And so, like, he's just really good at freaking everything. And your hero needs flaws, you know? Your hero needs one good trait about them that makes them them. They don't need, like, so many, like, things that's supposed to make them awesome. And the dude is literally just way too freaking awesome. And it just bugs me and everything. Now, Shoutmon is Mikey's main Digimon. For whatever reason, Shoutmon proclaims himself as the future king of the entire digital world. But why? What makes him want to be king? And why does everybody just accept the fact that he wants to be king and nobody ever challenges him? And so the thing is, it's just like Mikey, he wants to help the weak and everything and never turn his back on people and stuff like that. He does shout, which is why he's given his name, and he's kind of like a metal lizard, like almost kind of like dinosaurish dragon type Digimon. But I don't think he's mechanical or wired. I just think he's like metal. And he has a really cool design, and like, I do like him and everything. I just don't understand why all of a sudden the first time we meet him, he just wants to be like the Digimon king. And I don't even think the Digiland has like, a king, but he wants to be one and everything. And just like Mikey, he will straight up sacrifice himself. He will jump in front of like an energy blast, which is something weird Mikey does. And I don't know why the heck Mikey does it, and he's human. Now, the thing about him is, unlike Mikey, he can get his butt kicked. And he doesn't trust everybody, which is something Mikey does. And like he will even like be a smart mouth to somebody and like insult them, like he can't stand Christopher. But one interesting thing is that the moment I heard he wants to be the Digimon king, I stopped and automatically thought, oh wait, are they gonna do a weird twist where he's like the main protagonist and we follow him? And that would have been interesting because that's never happened in a Digimon show before. Following that of a Digimon and having him lead and, plan all the attacks and stuff like that. But no, he's just a basic like Digimon servant, just like all the rest, whenever they're loaded into like somebody's fusion loader. And so, but the moment they said, he's the king and he wants to do that, they should have built on that and have the series like follow him, and have him gather all these Digimon and stuff. The thing about him being a king is that he's not very kingly. Like, yeah, he can win his battles and all this other stuff, and he never gives up and he'll sacrifice himself. That's a warrior right there, not so much a king. It would have been great to see him like quell like a dispute between people or like bring folks together or something. But he doesn't do that. Mikey does that. Ballistamon, he is a mechanical Digimon, and for the most part, he never really gets that much screen time. Like, he appears in pretty much every episode and he tags along, but he never really gets anything to say or do, and you don't really know his personality. However, in season 2, we find out his origin. So when we first see him in episode 2 of season 1, Shoutmon finds him and help fix his circuits. And he said that he forgot where he came from or what his mission was, but he's thankful that they helped him. And supposedly that's like his best friend, even though they don't act like best friends. But in season 2, he mentions Shoutmon's like, "Oh, that's my best friend," blah blah. But I'm like, dude, Mikey acts more like your best friend. But anyways, his origin is that he's actually a villain, but forgot he was. This one pirate Digimon who's like a dark general is the one who created him to be an ultimate weapon of destruction. And so he gets like his old programming back and starts attacking his friends. Of course, only for Shoutmon to like rescue him, and he turns good again. And eventually they turn that dark general good as well. Darulmon. He's a dog-like Digimon, and I love his design. He's one of those brave, noble, like warriors and everything, all about honor and stuff. And he tags, or actually I should say Cutemon tags along with him. He's very brave, and we find out his origin story very, very early on in season 1. He used to be a villain. He used to work for Braga's army and everything, but defected when he realized that these bad people are willing to like attack and take out their own soldiers. That's something he's not for, and he left them. He's extremely powerful, and he's always sleeping for some bizarre reason. Cutemon, and he is so cute. Every season of Digimon always has that cute Digimon, and he's like, this season's cutest. And so I thought he was a girl at first because he's pink, and he's drawn kind of look like a girl, but nah, he's a dude. So we meet him when we meet Darulmon, and he always tags along with him. This dude does not like to walk. He likes for people either to carry him, or he likes to climb on top of them and, and let them do the walking and everything. And he's a really nice, very calm type Digimon, but by season 2, he's a little bit more feisty. His origin story is that he is separated from his parents, and his parents got kidnapped. And so he actually is so brave, he was actually able to rescue that of his parents. Even when they told him, let them perish and stuff, but he just would not do that. At one point in season 2, we do see him finally fuse with other Digimon. And he turns out to be like the bulk of the fusion and everything. Like the main one and stuff. And he's pretty powerful, but then he ended up losing his head somehow. I don't know what. In season 1, he tends to always tag along with that of Angie. And in season 3, for whatever reason, Mikey's now like the mentor and everything. And Shoutmon's his only Digimon. He now is paired with that of Angie. Wisemon. So Wisemon is kind of like the Izzy of the group, and he is very, very intelligent. At first, you think he's an antagonist because when Mikey was like thrown into the void without his fusion loader, Wisemon rescued him, but wanted to probe and study his body. But he resides in that of a book in the void. He's too afraid, well, not so much too afraid, he just could care less about what's going on in the digital world because there's too much confusion going on and too much violence and stuff like that. Only for Mikey to give an inspirational speech, this and that, and he finally leaves his book to rescue and save that of Mikey. But in doing so, he sacrificed his book that has like so much knowledge in it. So he loaded himself and Mikey's fusion loader, and Mikey had no idea. And so whenever the group encounters something that's like a magical spell or some kind of mechanical thing or something they need tinkering with, he is always the one to deduce a way to figure out how to stop it and everything. I like him. I'm always like more drawn to characters that are like brainy and everything, like Commander Data, Spock, 7 of 9, and he fits that mold. However, something odd happened. In season 2, we saw him attack with his book. But that shouldn't be because the book was destroyed and everything. Bialzamon. I was not expecting to see this dude. Like, I haven't seen him since Tamers. That's season 3. God, I think I was in high school during season 3. Like, it's been that long and everything. Like, it's been at least 28, 29, 30 years probably and everything. But yeah, so this dude has a huge origin story. And it spans for, I think, at least 3 episodes. So at first, he had the appearance of, like, I think Mummymon from season 2 of Digimon. And so, like, he is part of, like, this religious type order, well, a lot of angelic Digimon. And they worship this one female Digimon that, shines her light on them. But for whatever reason, will not shine on him. He thinks he's like a failure. At some point in time, he gets hurt. And with the help of like Anjumon and I think Mikey and maybe Wisemon, I'm not sure, they do this ritual to help heal his body. And then he turns into Bialzamon. And he's a very noble warrior who really has it out for, I think, Lauramon, I think that's her name, because she like tricked him and everything. So the thing is, they tricked him into attacking the temple and attacking his friends, like Anjumon and all of them. So he has this huge redeeming arc. And Mikey helped save him. So because of that, healing his body and stuff. Oh, I forgot. Cutemon can like heal people and stuff. So that's cool to have like a medic, around whenever you're hurt. And so he's been like, working with Mikey ever since. But he tends to not really go in the loader. He tends to go on his own path, but always shows up. And you always know he's going to show up because you'll see one of his feathers fall to the ground. And so in season 2, when they're literally in hell, and I'm not even joking, they are literally in the Digimon version of that. That one female Digimon, she fused with another Digimon and started attacking them, and he got badly hurt to where he can't be healed. But all he had to do was go into the fusion loader, and he should have been healed. So, like the noble warrior and all that, even like Cutemon could not heal him. He sacrifices his life by taking her out. And the dude is like dead. And I could not believe that. A couple of the good Digimon die. But just like with 01, they are later reborn in a very weird way because of the crown crystal, a crown code, or whatever it's called. They just reappear all of a sudden because the legendary warrior somehow brought them back. That very last scene in the finale is so rushed. But he's reborn and he helps the good fight. Now, Nene's Digimon, Mervamon, I think that's her name, has a huge crush on him. And for the most part, that's really Mikey's main, like, Digimon. He has a bunch more, but he never really uses them. Like, he has Nightmon and Deputymon, and I think her name is Beastmon or something. It's like a Egyptian-looking cat-type woman. Jeremy, he's one of Mikey's friends and so annoying, very comedic, very cowardly, is afraid of heights, is like a horn dog when it comes to girls and everything. But he's given a fusion loader in the 3rd season, a teal one. all the way in the third season. Lord Jesus. Anyway, he tags along to the digital world in season 1 because he's pissed at Mikey for beating him in kendo. But he completely forgot about it until Mikey instructed this one Digimon to attack, and he remembered that move and just went up and straight attacked Mikey and everything like that. Anyway, he doesn't really do much, like, at all, and he's kind of just like Angie, a waste of space. He had one solo episode, or two solo episodes. One where he had to command Mikey's Digimon, where Mikey was like, drained and tired and weak and everything. But then his solo episode came when he rescued a princess of thinking it's a human princess for some bizarre reason, but it's a Digimon one. And a really creepy looking one. And so he showed his bravery when he rescued that princess, when he partnered with Darullamon, because, he's so, like, cowardly and everything. Now, he is pretty good at kendo, and at one point, he uses the Star Sword that the Starmon and Picamon combined to make and everything. And at one point, he's all like, Mikey, my sword and everything. And I'm like, dude, that's not even yours. You don't even have a fusion loader. You have no Digimon. And so, like, but he ends up getting his butt kicked. But, like, and see, the finale of season 1, him, Mikey, and all of them get thrown back into the digital world along with Angie. And so him and Angie stay behind because Omnimon didn't have enough power to send them. But Angie and Jeremy's, like, I guess, like, energy, soul, or whatever from the human world, whatever, fused inside of, like, what's his name, Fusion Loader, and gave Shoutmon the ability to Digivolve. And so in season 2, they are completely just not in season 2. And he's mentioned twice, but he doesn't show up until the last 3 episodes. When, like, these 2 data cards, like, talk to them and help them. And when I say the last 3 episodes are extremely rushed, boy, I'm not even kidding. It's kind of hard to figure out what the heck goes on in those last 3 episodes because it is extremely rushed. And we get dumped with I can't say that. Exposition or something like that. Like, it's just one information dump after another, and things just randomly happen because, hey, the protagonist says it happens. Angie, she is literally just the girl. She has a crush on Mikey, gets jealous when other girls are around him, especially female Digimon. And she just tags along. She has a sweetheart and everything. And, like, not a sweetheart, but, like, a kind heart. And that's about it, really, when it comes to her. Now, her solo episode, and I can't believe they did this, but for whatever reason, I forgot why, they had to have a bake-off, and she baked like a cake or a pie or something. That was her solo episode. Her in the kitchen baking. Wow. She is the girl. She is giving an orange, like, fusion loader in season 3, which I'm surprised she didn't get pink because of how girly she is and stuff. And so basically she does the same thing Jeremy does in season 2. Christopher, he is the general of the Blue Flare, but eventually, somewhere in season 2, he will join the Fusion Fighters, which is Mikey's team. I hate this character to death. This character is just mean and just rude and comes off very evil. When he gets really, really, really pissed, his eyes will sometimes glow blue or like with flames. And he has the blue fusion loader. Now his was given to him by Lord Braga, the villain. And originally it was white, but then turned blue. And so this guy is arrogant. He's a prick. He is worse than Davis. At least Davis was like comedic, you know? And at least Davis turned around a heck of a lot faster than he did. This dude just does not play nice. But he's mysterious in season one. We don't know why he is the way he is. And he just pops in and out. But he knows who Nene is. And it seems like he kind of crushes on her a little bit, but not really. But like also he's willing to like help her and stuff. But he hates Mikey to death and everything. He thinks Mikey is too weak and too soft and doesn't command his Digimon with like the fierce fury that he has and everything. And he wants the crown code to reshape the digital world. Not so much in his image, but for like I guess the strong to prevail or something like that. I'm telling you, the dude feels so much like a villain. Even the bad guys are like, hey, that's why we chose you and gave you that fusion loader. We could sense the evil in you and stuff like that. By season 2, he appears a heck of a lot more. Because in season 1, he kind of bops in and out the season. But in season 2, you know, time has passed and his hair has now grown long. He has a new outfit. And he's a lot meaner than what he used to be. And we find out why he is so mean. Basically, his father was like that. His mom is nice, but his father was very cruel and everything. He owned his own business, and his father did not like having a weak son because his son was crying, was getting bullied at school, and he's all like, you know, you have to toughen up and you have to be perfect and you know you have to take things by force and blah 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 and stuff like that. So when his father died, he didn't even inherit his father's business. It was taken from him. And so he's pissed because he lost his father. He doesn't have his fortune. And like, you know, he feels like, you know, he's doing a great job until Mikey does a better job. And he feels like Mikey is superior to him and he doesn't like that. And he doesn't like failing and everything. So eventually he will join Mikey's team, but he's not a team player. But it takes a very long time in season 2 for him to finally start to lighten up. He reminds me of Eric from Power Rangers Time Force and everything. Like the dude just won't play nice. Now he has 3 primary like Digimon. He has a Greymon of all things, which is shocking. Now his Greymon is a dark color. His Digimon all look evil, and they are arrogant and pricks just like him. Because they treat Shoutmon like crap until Shoutmon saves them and they turn around. After that, they are pretty friendly and stuff. But they are fierce and they are very strong fighters. His Digimon are able to also Digivolve and everything. Because, you know, Christopher is technically like the second in command of like, you know, the series and stuff. Now, he also has male Birdramon and everything. And Cyberdramon. But Cyberdramon dies because Christopher, when he got corrupted by the bad guys and persuaded to work for them and everything, when they kind of enhanced his evil side or whatever, he went nuts and had his other Digimon, who we never get to see, beat the living snot out of him and everything. And he dies. After that, he says he wants the crown code so he can restore his Digimon after that. Finally learning to accept others and learn a lesson in friendship. He kind of reminds me of Matt a little bit, but a million times worse. Nene. Now, she retained her Japanese dubbed name. And she is an idol in season 3. And she always wears way too short skirts. But they draw some nice clothes on her though. Now, her hair is kind of cool. It's two bunny-like pigtails. But in season 2, the bangs and the pigtails are more wavy until you get halfway into season 2, and they will just kind of like screw it, and they just went back to giving her back her season 1 hairstyle, which really bugged me. Because I like the fact that they changed up her season and stuff. And of course, in season 3, they really changed it up. She was very, very interesting in season 1. In season 1, she was this mysterious girl where you had no idea if she was good or bad. She was always observing, like Mikey, and spying on him with her monitormon. And so, like, she will also say the most cryptic stuff to, like, Christopher and everything. Now, she's part of Team Night. And we find out very early on in season 1 that she is being manipulated. She is working for Nightmon, which is technically one of her Digimon, but not really because he's using her. And he gave her a black fusion loader. Now, it's a little confusing as to who exactly this loader belongs to, either her or her brother, because we see in the flashback, like, you know, the brother had to say his last name in order to, I guess, allow only those people to use the loader that has that last name. And, like, you know, we see Nightmon tell Urin, like, you know, oh, years from now I'll come back when you're older, and blah, 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 blah. So, anyways, they got sent into the digital world, her and her brother. But then her brother got lost because Nightmon has hid him. So she has to do like his bidding. And, you know, so it's kind of like, whoa, a villainous girl in Digimon. I've never saw that. Well, a human girl, that is. And so, of course, with the help of Mikey and everything, he helps rescue her. And after that, her fusion loader turns lavender. But she doesn't officially join his team because she's off to do her own thing and look for her brother, but then she comes back. And the thing is that she pops in and out of season 1 so much, and then when she finally comes back full time, you never hear her mention her brother again, which is very odd. It's almost like that whole plot just got completely dropped. And the thing about her is that she's so mysterious and a little different, she doesn't even really laugh. Until, like, I think Angie made her laugh or something like that, or she told a joke or something. Now, her Digimon her primary Digimon are that of Monitormon, which is like 3 triplet type Digimon that are ninjas, and they're scout Digimon that are all about surveillance, and they can do some ninja type stuff too. And we get to meet the other Monitormon, which are different colors and stuff. And then she later acquires them. But she gives the red ones to Mikey and said, this is how we can communicate. But we see them back with her, and Mikey never really uses them. Except for like 1 episode, which I don't know. She has a communication device that Mikey gave her. So I don't know why she couldn't just communicate that way. But her Monitormon are very cool. They are so sneaky. They can sneak in and out of a building and do surveillance, and they are never caught by like the bad guys. And so they pretty much relay everything they see to like either another Monitormon or whatever that little tiny Digimon is she's holding in her hand, which we never get to see her use. And so I have no idea what the point of that little tiny Digimon is that she holds. But her other primary Digimon is Carriermon. And Carriermon is like a jet type Digimon that Nene tends to ride on, or other humans and stuff. But Mikey actually took possession of Carriermon when Nene was like in danger and stuff. And he was able to fuse, like, her Digimon with his. But then, yet, that's so shocking and surprising in, like, season 2. And Carryamon is, like, the only girl Digimon that Nene had until season 2. Because Nene has both male and female Digimon. Whereas Mikey only has one female and the rest are male. And Christopher only has male. And so, like, by season 2, Nene's complete personality just like shifts and everything. She's more girly, she's more outgoing, she's more happier. And she sneaks around in disguises so that the other Digimon won't find her and capture her and send her to Lord Braga and everything. Because for the first time ever, the humans failed in the series. They failed at the end of season 1, and then the digital world got completely reworked into, like, Lord Braga's, like, New World Order and everything. And it's different because the thing about 01 Digimon, they never failed, but the Dark Masters, of course, took over because they just wasn't there. But yeah, it's kind of like interesting. Now by season 2, her brother does pop up, but he's all more interested in Mikey, and you never really see her talk to him until towards the end when she's trying to persuade him. But it's mostly Mikey that's persuading him, and she never really goes after her brother. The best sibling dynamics I've ever seen is in 01. And of course, New Frontier. Here is just kind of like, are you sure they're related? Oh, my bad. Her Digimon isn't named Carryamon, it's Spariomon. But she has another Digimon in season 2 named Mervamon. Mervamon, it took a long time for Nene to get like a new Digimon and stuff. She's more human looking, like with these big long pigtails that are like teal and really huge boobs that had to be censored. Basically, Mervamon was separated from her brother because her brother joined the Dark Forces. So she was protecting the weak Digimon and was going to do whatever it takes, even if it takes her own brother out. But of course, here comes Mikey with some inspirational speeches and stuff. And she later joins Nene's team and everything. But she never fuses with them to do the Great Fusion, which is really odd and bizarre. Okay, Urin, not urine. Urin. So Urin is Nene's little tiny brother and everything. And the thing about him, he's a little annoying. So the thing about him is that we see him at the end of season 1. And then we see him in season 2, and he's with the bad guys and everything. And he has like a dark fusion loader. And so just like with Mikey and Christopher, he is a master strategist. Nene is the only one who doesn't strategize, like, cause she's the girl. And so, like, when it comes to Urin, his origin is that he just doesn't want to hurt nothing or nobody. Even if he steps on a bug, that will like devastate him. He's all about things living, and he just doesn't want to hurt nobody. But Nightmon comes to him, and he was all like, hey, I'll send you to a place that's completely fake, and you can hurt as many things as you want, but it's totally okay because it's a video game and they won't die. So he's like cool and everything. And so he's giving the Dark Fusion loader, but not until he is older. Why did he wait till he's older? Heck if I know. And so, like, I never understood this dude. He's technically evil. They try to make it seem like he was coerced and everything and lied to, which technically he was. Because he tells Mikey and all of them, hey, you ever get bored with this game, I can just destroy you and you'll get sent back to the human world. Because here, nobody dies and everything. But when we see him take that Dark Fusion loader, he has a sadistic smile on his face. Not only that, but if he's not for hurting nothing, then why is he totally okay with hurting what he thinks are pretend animals and everything? And people in the digital world that's just data. If he's willing to hurt them, then technically he is just as evil as the bad guys. But they try to make it seem like he's good. And so it literally takes him and Mikey having a sword fight in order to snap him out of that and realize, hey, this pain you inflicted on me, because he cut Mikey with the sword. And I think Mikey either cut him back or punched him or kicked him or something. And he's all like, hey, I experienced pain and everything. And he's all like, holy crap, you're telling the truth. This really is like, if something dies in the digital world, it dies everywhere else. So after that, he is devastated and just keeps on crying and crying and crying because, oh, he hurt people and he's hurt Digimon and all this other stuff. And so his Digimon is Daemon and everything. Basically, it's just there to babysit him. But Daemon ended up liking him a lot, but then ended up getting destroyed, but never came back alive until season 3. And so, like, after that, Axe Nightmons are like, look, man, I'm done with you, all right? Like, I'm just going to use you as a battery. And I'm going to power all these Dark Fusion loaders and stuff. Because, like, yeah. Doing the whole Matrix thing. But when he's rescued and everything, he's giving a yellow fusion loader, which technically looks gold. And he's giving it by, like, the fallen Digimon, like, warriors and stuff. And it's so, oh my god, it's just so rushed, that finale is. But he turns back good, and then in season 3, he's a year older, but looks way taller, and he's part of the new team. Similar to how TK is. He reminds me a lot of TK. Okay, so there are way too many villains for me to like talk about. There are 7 generals, 3 lieutenants, and then 2 like primary villains. So I'm just gonna do the 2 primary villains. Lord Braga himself, the main villain, who is in charge of the Braga army. Now he has technically halfway conquered the digital world before like season 1 even started. But here's the interesting thing. Only the weak small Digimon have been like remain, but he wants to have everybody be on his side or enslave them or destroy them or whatever. And so of course he wants to reshape the digital world in his image and also conquer Earth. They always want to conquer Earth. The dude literally just sits in a chair. That's it. And he is barely shown in the first, well, actually those 2 seasons. Like when I say he rarely appears, like it is very few and very brief and everything. And how are you supposed to attach yourself to the villain and be like, oh, that's a great villain for like the show, and he does this and he does that. He doesn't do nothing but sit in the chair and says typical villain stuff and barely talks and stuff. But then by season 2, he is shown more towards the end because he finally gets out of that chair And of course, his team won the Code Crown in the end of season 1. As time passed, he used it, reshaped the digital world in his image, and made the Code Crown evil. Now, fear is his biggest thing, and he always has his generals to feed off the fear of Digimon to feed that of the Code Crown. He gave Christopher the fusion loader because he could sense the evil in him and stuff. And so, like, it turns out Axe Nightmon is his brother. So, when he's all super powerful, of course, they attack and nothing happens to him because he's so powerful. And I hate that. He barely does anything. We don't know much about him. And all of a sudden, he can just kick everybody's butt with like a wave of a hand. And that's basically it. And he can reach all the way to like the human world and possess it and crush it and all kind of other crap, right? He gets attacked from behind by his brother. It turns out his brother had a hidden agenda. But then it turns out in a double twist, he has been playing his brother this whole time and expected his brother to turn on him and fuse with that of his brother, along with fusing with other evil Digimon. That was like a double twist that just didn't work. It would have been better if it was like Axe Nightmon and his twist and like he was the primary villain. But it is what it is. Now, of course, all the good guys get all of their Digimon and bring in more Digimon from like the digital world and do a final fusion. And of course, destroy him and stuff. Axe Nightmon, he is the true main villain of like this season and stuff. And so originally you assume he's the one who made everything happen, which technically he did, only for his brother to be playing him from behind. So the thing about him is we first start to hear his voice in Nene's like fusion loader and everything when she had the dark one. And when he appeared, he kept controlling her, talking about you'll never see your brother again if you don't do what I say, and blah, 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 blah. And so he is extremely tough. And it turns out he is the one who created the original, like, fusion loader, the dark one and everything. Now, he observed Urban and everything. And like I told you before, I had him say his name, told him, hey, years later, I'll come back for you. He did, and took Nene too. And like gave Nene, for whatever reason, the dark fusion loader. Not sure why he gave her that instead of him. And so like he's been lying to her brother the entire time. But then by season 2, he kind of just like disappears and everything, only to reappear and still persuade like her brother and this and that. And so he's also the one who created the dark fusion loaders that all the dark generals use, and he uses as well. So now we finally get to see Digimon use Digivices, other than when they did in season 4. But those were technically humans that can digivolve into Digimon. And so, like, this was like a neat kind of thing. But then, like, like I told you before, he used the brother as like a battery source. And like, he got mad when he could no longer use it and just tossed the fusion loader. And then, here's the thing, right? His origin story turns out to be he's just jealous of his brother's power. His brother's more powerful, and like he's always wanted what his brother had. So this is why he set everything in motion, so that with the fusion loaders and all this and crap. Now, so that will mean technically every fusion loader is based off of his design and based off of evil. Now, here's the thing that don't make no sense. He made the dark fusion loader. I'm assuming he made the white one that later turned blue that Christopher had, because Braga gave that to Christopher. But who the heck made the red fusion loader, the one that Omnimon, the good guy, had and gave to that of Mikey? And why did he need to even create fusion loaders and everything? He said so Digimon can fuse and have more power so that like his brother could absorb. I guess he wanted that power. But you know, because they're all trying to obtain the code crowns so that they can fuse them all into one. Because the digital world is like in the fourth season, all got split up and shattered into 108 different zones, and there were code crowns there. So each team, like Fusion Fighters, Blue Flare, and Knight, and of course the bad guys were obtaining as many code crowns as they can so they can fuse it all into one crystal and reshape the digital world. Now, here's the thing that's also confusing. Braga and his team turned all the Digimon evil with the help of those code crowns or whatever. But the moment when the humans got it and turned it good, the Digimon there turned good as well. That don't make no sense and everything. Because they literally digivolve. But just like they said, it takes over 1,000 years or 5,000 just for them to digivolve and everything. Not only that, but why even create the fusion loaders and bring humans into the digital world if all you had to do is obtain that of the code crowns and stuff and turn the digital world evil? That makes literally no sense because these humans turned out to kick their butts and everything. So it's just kind of very, very, very confusing and everything. His whole master plan. But then, like I said before, he turned against his brother. And he was an opposing villain. He's a way better villain than his brother is. Until that double twist came around. And his brother, like, absorbed him and everything. So Digimon Fusion was an interesting season. It was completely different than most other Digimon seasons. They took some huge swings, but they had a bunch of misses. In my opinion, I do think this was a failed experiment in everything. I mean, heck, the third season never even got an English dub because fans were just so turned off by this series. Now, there are tons of people who actually do like this series. Mostly younger people, like in their 20s, who say, like, they grew up with this. This introduced them to Digimon. This introduced them to anime. And that's great and everything. I mean, people are going to like whatever they like. But coming from somebody like myself, who is older and has been there since '01, this is not a good season whatsoever. There are way better seasons than this. If they just would have took the time and the care to flesh things out like characters and stuff, this would have been an awesome season. But the only thing they cared about was selling toys. Because literally, like I said before, this series is rinse, wash, and repeat and everything. Like, it's just always the get to that big battle. And that's why the Digimon constantly get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's just to get you hyped for like the action, and so you will buy like the toys and stuff. But you need more than that. You need depth. You need emotion. You need an actual story. It's weird that the main protagonist is the least interesting person in the show because he's not that developed and everything. The villains are more developed than him. The Digimon are more developed than him. And so are the mysterious characters. And so, yeah, I'll probably never watch this show again, but like, I don't know. I do love that theme song. And when they do Fusion Load, it does get me hyped because I do love the action and stuff, which is what this series was supposed to do. It was supposed to get you hyped for action and buy like toys and everything. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.